You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast. Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Guns and Yellow Ribbons. I'm Fergus. I am your host. Yeah, you did hear it right. We've done the exit music before we started with the intro music. I am joined by a newbie to our podcast. I'm joined by my good friend, Daniel. Dan is normally with me when I'm very, very drunk outside the Tony Adams statue, trying to learn words of songs I should really know. But yeah, I don't do very well at that. I'm also joined by Big T. Big T has had technical issues, let's call it that way, hence the slight delay. And hopefully later on we get joined by Trevor. Trevor has been stuck at work and he's just rang us and apologise. So we'll see how we go from there. Tony, are you with us?
I think so, mate. Yeah, I think so. Via the mobile phone. So apologies for any crackling or any slight delays or hiccups. I apologise to those in the chat as well.
I think it's live by satellite from Hoddesdon, isn't that what they say?
Not Hoddesdon, mate. Broxbourne. It's a little bit posher.
Yeah.
just a touch up.
Just a top. Truls is asking where Trev is. No, he's still stuck at work at the moment, but he will try and join us afterwards.
He's still recovering
Daniel,
from the 2 pints he had at West Brom.
2 pints, yeah, he dragged them out, didn't he?
2 pint Trev, TPT.
Daniel, how are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me today. Good to be on the first time.
That's no worries. Are you going to try and teach me a song today, or is that just pointless?
Well, as we said, I think we'll stick to 1-0 to the Arsenal was the first one we need to teach you, and when to sing it, which means when it's 1-0 to the Arsenal.
You'll actually have to explain that story. So, what game was that? Was it?
I can't remember the game. Obviously, Fergus was, as usual, just had his 1 or 2 pints as well. Came down the stairs, I think missed kickoff. Thought we'd scored for some reason and started singing 1-0 to the Arsenal. And obviously it was 0-0 and that no one else joined in. But yeah, it was a good start. I think, was that just directly after you walked down the wrong row, sat at the wrong seat and didn't know where you was? Or was that another time? I think that could have been the same time.
I've done it a few times. I've done it away at somebody's wedding as well, and I sat with some different ladies at a table and had my starter, my main course, my dessert, and then went out to enjoy the evening with my wife. And my wife reminded me that later that evening. That went down well. Guys, listen, we're in a jovial mood. I've just got a ticket for Man City tomorrow, so I'm going to Man City, so it's an early start. So we'll get this wrapped up within the hour, and I'll get myself off to bed because I need to maintain these good looks and everything else. But let's look back to the West Brom game. The West Brom game. Tony, you took your daughter to, I think, was it her first away game?
No, mate, it was her first game in general. I'd had tickets last year for a couple of times, and obviously due to one of them was the weather for the women's game, and then the other 3 games were all called off because of COVID. So it was her first game. So yeah, for me, it was more than a League Cup tie against West Brom. It was a bit of a special day for me. Obviously, the result was great for her. She loved it and wants to go back. And to top it all off, she made an appearance on the TV as well. So for me as a dad and as an Arsenal fan, it was a special day Wednesday. It was one that I won't forget.
Brilliant. And just for Lowski 70, Lowy 73, it's not Perry Groves. Honestly, it's not Perry Groves. That's you, Dan. Right, Aubameyang had a hat-trick, helped Arsenal to their first win of the season. Yes, I think as myself and yourself have chatted on the phone the other day when I locked myself out of my house, Tony, we have to put it into some sort of perspective. It was a West Brom United not at full strength. It's a championship side.
West Bromwich United.
Did I say United? Flipping heck.
Jesus,
You know
there's
what? It's been
names,
a
there's
long
football
week.
teams. I mean, just stick to clues and names, and yeah, you don't have a good one, do you, mate?
I give up. I'll leave you two talk among yourselves, shall I? Why don't just carry on, guys? So, what did you think of the game then, Dan?
I think lots of positives from the game. I think it's a typical game where, let's be honest, we're not going to get much out of it as fans. Sort of a lose-lose situation, those sort of games, isn't it, really? You're expected to win. You're expected to win by a big margin. If you win, everyone says, well, you know, under 21, under 23, third tier, sort of third squad from West Brom. But I think from our point of view, we needed goals. We need confidence. Carling Cup or Carabao Cup is always about bringing through young players. I think the average age of the squad was around 25, something like that, I think they said. A few young players in the squad still, obviously probably more established first team members now, but still young players. And, you know, like we said earlier, it's an opportunity to bring young family members to their first games, as it always was. You know, whether we have sort of home games, cheap £10 tickets to bring family and get sort of the new generation of fans coming through. I think certainly having the fans singing in the background from home sounded great, and from the people that we know was there, enjoyed, you know, a good atmosphere there. So I think all round a good day. Aubameyang's hat-trick hopefully will push him back to where he was a couple of years ago. And yeah, generally quite impressed with after the first 20 minutes. I think the way we played, the way that we sort of ticked over with Ødegaard in the middle, played the ball around, and didn't concede a goal, which, yeah, you'd expect to hopefully keep a clean sheet against a third squad from West Brom, but you've got to only play what's in front of you.
That is very true. Tony, play what's in front of you. Nicolas Pepe, you would have thought, being such a left-footed player, and I know Kai's in the chat as well, that clearing on goal for one of his opportunities, he takes it with his right. Fortunate enough, Aubameyang was there to clear it up and score the goal. Can somebody have a word with him, please?
Look, mate, it's a chance that he probably should bury. And I'd expect him to bury it. He hasn't done. He's hit the post. And Aubameyang was there to follow it up. I don't want to dwell on the negatives, because at the end of the day, we know what it is. It's against an understrength West Brom side. As Dan just alluded to, it's all about a confidence builder. You know, getting some goals, obviously bedding in a few of the newer players. I must say, I've got somebody who I've given a little bit of stick to over recent months is Aubameyang. Now, I don't care who he was playing. I don't care the goals he scored. Forget about the goals. I see a bit of a different side to Aubameyang Wednesday. And I know people can sit here and say, well, it was only West Brom reserves. I'm not talking about the opposition. I'm talking about his movement and his work rate. That you can't, doesn't matter who you're playing against, you can do it in training. His movement was as good as I've seen in a very, very long while. We didn't supply him as much as what we should have. He was on the last man. He was bending his runs. And when he scored the hat-trick and celebrated, I felt that there was a little bit of relief, frustration that was coming out. He's had a lot of criticism, and rightly so, over recent months. I just wonder whether that could be a springboard for him to start notching a few goals. Because if his movement and his attitude and work rate's as good as what it was Wednesday, then there's no two ways. He can obviously get back to where he was. But obviously that's down to him. No one else can do that. Only, you know, it's up to him. But I was very, very impressed with him on and off the ball Wednesday. Regardless of the opposition, his movement was top notch.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I thought the fact that he didn't really go back past the halfway line. He stayed in the forward part of the pitch. He was on the hunt for goals. He was there to pick up loose balls. He was on the last man's shoulder, and that's what he should be doing. He shouldn't be tracking back and trying to defend and so on. That's not in his armory. What did you make of Lacazette, Dan?
I mean, I like Lacazette. I think he's a different type of striker to Aubameyang. You've got Aubameyang that's going to play on the line and try and run it behind. Whereas Lacazette, I think, will link the play a bit better. I think he's not the striker that we need. He's probably not as good as linking the players as, let's say, Giroud was, or I think we spoke the other day about like a Calvert-Lewin or someone like that can hold the ball up, and certainly not like Lukaku was against us the other day. But he's something different. And the thing with Lacazette, the only sort of criticism that most people have of him is that he takes too many chances to score a goal. And the way he took his goal is exactly what we need him to be doing.
Exactly.
As he was, I think, when we first signed him. I think his work rate is always good. He always looks busy. He seems to be a good influence on the younger players. Again, I don't know too much in the background, but that's sort of the noise that I've heard when it comes out that he's good with the younger players.
From what I've heard, Dan, he is well liked within the organisation, within the club, and so on. I was messaging somebody I know who gives me some stuff, and I was saying that I don't think he's moving because I happened to be in a car dealership in North London, and he had been in there on Monday. I was in there on the Tuesday, and he was eyeing up a new car. So one would have thought he's not moving from the club. And when I shared that information with him, he said, "Yeah, he's well liked within the club." So, yeah, I like him. I like his work rate. I like his attitude. What I do struggle with is what you pointed out is the amount of opportunities he needs to take to score a goal. It's he needs probably 7 or 8 opportunities to score a goal and finish one off. Tony, talk to me about the Odegaard flick and that interchange between Saka and Odegaard to get that goal.
Yeah, it's a great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a great team goal. The flick, I think, is whether it's meant for Saka or Aubameyang is irrelevant. It's a great flick. I like Odegaard. I have raised question marks over us signing him in the summer. He didn't originally excite me. He didn't really. I think there was other players out there that I really wanted ahead of Odegaard. But then since we've signed him, you sit back and you look at it and you think £30 million plus a couple of million add-ons, so potentially £34 million total deal. When you look at the other players that was being mentioned and rumoured, you think, well, actually, for a player of his age, £30 million a pretty decent deal. And again, if he brings more attacking football, offers us something on and off the pitch, then I'll eat my words and fair play. I still think he could potentially be a great player for us, but I still say the initial signing wasn't one that excited me. But I think he's got everything in his locker to succeed at Arsenal, to bring us something different to the team. I think his awareness, he's got similar attributes to former players, and hopefully he helps us, tick certainly in the final third.
Overall, I think the performance was outstanding. Yes, as we said earlier, you play what's put in front of you. For me, I took the positives out of it. The positives were we were on our ass. We'd lost and badly lost against Chelsea. We were undone by Brentford. We're going into a game tomorrow against, as Ben Bennett said, Manchester Albion. That's only taking the mick out of my cocking up of various words. But hey, listen, you wouldn't love this show if I didn't mess it up somewhere along the line. But we're up against Man City tomorrow. I'm going there with my heart and hoping for a 1-0 to the Arsenal. But in reality, we do know that they've got some excellent players, and it's going to be a really tough game. We'll go into that game in a few minutes. But take the positives. Win, and that win, and a convincing win at that, breeds positivity and breeds winning, a winning mentality. If you go back through the invincible years, there was many a time we just had 1-0 to the Arsenal and so on. Joe Tester in the chat says it was a team performance and we haven't seen that for a while. I totally agree with that, Joe. I looked at the squad and I tried to pick out, not looking negatively, but if I try to look at the players, I couldn't pick a player that had a really bad game. And the only one who I thought, it's probably because I've got my blinkers on and I don't particularly like the guy and I don't think he's good enough, was Pepe. But he still had a great game. I thought he was very, very good. He was very active within the game, and I
It's
can't
just
look at a
about
bad
keeping
player.
things into perspective, isn't it, Ferg? You know, it's about praising people but not going over the top. It's about, you know, taking the positive, like you said, and the confidence booster of the win, but not going overboard. Well, I will got to say, just to cut you up, mate, I thought Aaron Ramsdale had a solid debut, and the reception he got from the fans, I felt that it was a bit of a sticking the fans that were there, match-going fans. It was a bit of a sticking your fingers up to the trolls on social media, as if to say to him, "Look, Ben, look, Aaron, we're not, you know, it ain't us that's abusing you online. These keyboard warriors don't go to games. They're just idiots behind a keyboard. The real fans will back you and support you, you know, as much as possible." And I thought he got an absolutely fantastic reception midweek, both before, during, and after the game. And that will only breed confidence for a young man like him. And also another one, mate, is that Nuno Tavares. I think there's something about that man. I really like him, and he's another one who potentially become a bit of a fan's favourite.
Well, to be honest, on Tavares, Mike Gongalves, Boston Ozil, who started this podcast with me, he's based in America, but he's Portuguese origin, and he's a very big Benfica fan. And he messaged me that, have you seen, we've paid £8 million for Tavares. He's absolutely pants. He's crap. But to be honest, from what I've seen of how he's played, Dan, what have you thought of Tavares? And Lokonga as well has really impressed me.
I like Tavares, to be honest. I think he's a player that's going to be quite good going forward. I'd like to see him at times in a 5 as well. I think he would be well suited to be playing wing back as opposed to a fullback. Time will tell how he is defensively when he's pushed back and has to, you know, sit in a line of 4 and be patient and defend properly. Will he track a man? Will he, you know, a ball that comes into the back post, is he going to be in the right position? Certainly going forward, he looks a great threat. He looks like a winger that's been pushed into fullback at the moment. I think he still early days. You know, I remember the early days when we had Kolasinac and we was raving about him going forward. You've got to be able to do a job defensively. So we'll see when he gets tested. Certainly so far, I've not seen anything bad about him. Lokonga looks pretty much like the perfect partner to Partey for me. People saying that he's similar and will be instead of him, but I think I'd like him alongside him.
Agreed.
We need players that are not scared to take the ball deep and be able to play on the half turn, go beyond players and start a move off. You know, we were blessed with a player like Santi Cazorla. You know, there's no comparison to him yet, in my opinion, but that sort of player that can drift into spaces, take the ball, forward.
What I like about him is he does the very basics very, very well. He breaks up play and he looks to move the ball forward. And then he can get it onto Odegaard or onto Smith Rowe or whichever. And then we're on an attacking formation rather than his current counterpart, Granit Xhaka, has a tendency to go sideways or backwards. Yet we've all got mixed feelings about Granit Xhaka. I'm not going to get that over the top. But I'm looking forward to see a Partey Lokonga partnership. I think it won't be. I think it's going to be a Partey Xhaka partnership, which doesn't necessarily fill me with joy, because I think Lokonga will probably be more a squad player. I'm hoping he's just fighting himself into a starting position, and that him and Partey can form a good partnership. We've got a next round. I don't know what the date for the next round. I didn't look it up. The next round we've got
22nd
is against
September.
Just before
22nd of September. Okay, so it's against AFC Wimbledon. You know, how far has that club come, Tony? From reforming when they separated from Wimbledon, you got MK Dons now, which were just greed of foreign owners wanting to refranchise a football team and thinking you could move a football team from its heartland to anywhere in the country and you still have a following. It picked up a following. It's got a fantastic stadium in Milton Keynes. It was built for a World Cup that never happened. But AFC Wimbledon formed by the fans, a bit like the Dial Square movement that's going on with Arsenal, formed by the fans, and went up 7 leagues in 7 years. And here they are playing a Premier League side in the League Cup round 3. It must be wow for them.
At the Emirates as well. So for them, it's it's an absolutely fantastic tie. The rise that they've had has been incredible, and they've had former players, as in Wimbledon player legends, as part of the committee, as part of the board. They've had some fantastic fans that stuck together, that sort of refused to accept that their club had sort of died, liquidated, etc. And you got to take your hat off to them as a club. The owners, chairman, the managers, the players have all been there. The rise has been incredible. From our point of view, it's a great tie as well. As Dan's alluded to, it's another one you can sort of take your kids, people that don't go too often. There's a lot of season ticket holders that won't turn up to that game, but it's a chance for those that don't go too often to go. It's not going to break the bank. You're talking 5 or 10 for children, 10, 15 quid for adults. It's a great cup tie all round. From my point of view, I was hoping for another away day, but looking at it from the sort of magic of the sort of cup competitions in England, it's a great tie, and it's one you'd expect another one you'd expect us to comfortably go through. It's another chance to play the squad players.
It would have been fantastic if it was Plough Lane, wouldn't it?
Oh mate, brilliant. Don't think that's a ground I ever went to when I was younger. They finished Plough Lane, what was it, early 90s, and then from there I was obviously going to Selhurst Park most weeks or most seasons to watch Wimbledon. Plough Lane would have been great. I've heard that they've rebooked the land, haven't they, to build a stadium back on, isn't it? So
no, I believe the stadium is back.
Is it? I may be wrong. I've not obviously looked too much into that side of things, but it's great for them. And like I say, it would have been special to go to a place like Plough Lane. But football moves on. It's going to be at the Emirates, and I think that their fans will create a fantastic atmosphere, and it will certainly be an experience for them and obviously the team.
Dan, it will be interesting to see if the tickets are £5 and £10, because, like, if you look at the pre-season Mind campaign, the tickets were priced much higher, and it wasn't affordable to bring. Like, I've always the last Emirates Cup, I brought my 2 nephews, my brother, my son, his partner, my 2 grandkids at that point, and we had a family day out. There were 7 or 8 of us there. But you couldn't afford to do that really for the for that game. I do hope that they do keep it affordable, and I'd probably go if it's like 30 quid a ticket or something like that. I won't go.
The League Cup pricing will be exactly the same as it has been since we've been at the Emirates. Even when we've had semi-finals versus Tottenham, it's been a tenner. That hasn't changed since we've been at the Emirates, and I can't see it changing, in the future either.
I think it has to be honest. If let's be honest, you look at the pre-season game, definitely wasn't a sellout. I don't think it will be anywhere near a sellout for the cup game, even with cheap tickets at the moment. To be honest, I think they won't get numbers in unless they drop the prices.
Yeah, you know what I think they could do, similar to what was done at the White Hart Lane yesterday, is they close the top tier if needs be and just fill the lower tiers, which they did for the Mind one as well. Listen, tomorrow, as Joe says in the chat, the win was important to us on Wednesday. Everybody will be getting up at a ridiculous hour. Now I am as well. I think I'm up at 5 to drive near enough 4 hours there and 4 hours back for the football. So, until that fixture, I think we all were thinking, not really looking forward to that. But Kevin De Bruyne is expected to be unavailable for the Man City game after he's been left out of the Belgium squad for the World Cup qualifiers. Foden is out with an ankle injury. Saka hurt his knee midweek, so I don't know how he will be fixed. But Gabriel has returned to training, so he might get a run out. Ben White is available because he's no longer given positive COVID tests. And obviously, Renarsson will be available for the bench if needs be. Tony, thoughts, expectations for that game? No Cristiano Ronaldo at the Etihad Stadium. What a joke.
Look, no disrespect. Wednesday's game and performance and result hasn't altered my thinking for Saturday. Unfortunately, I still expect us to get turned over. The way we set up and the players. Make no mistake though. If Arsenal really turned up and put in a performance, it wouldn't be a huge shock if we won, because on our day we have done this over recent years. Pulled off the unexpected. But all I want us to do tomorrow, mate, is just turn up, give 100%, put a bit of pride in the shirt. If you are going to lose, there's a way of losing. Don't crumble if you go 1-0 down. Don't embarrass yourself anymore. Put in a performance that would tell you whether you want to be at the club and also whether you want to, whether you're behind the manager. We need players now that are, you're going to need to be stuck in the trenches with and go to war and fight for the club. We're in a position where we ain't going to get relegated. I don't care what anybody says. People in the WhatsApp group, we're not going to get relegated. But equally, we don't want to be finishing 8th or 9th this season again. We need to start making improvements, and it's about time we sort of stood up and we're counting for us manager, players, and the staff as well. We've just got to turn up, put a performance in, and hopefully nick a result. If we nick a result, that could really, start our season.
And Dan, Gabriel apparently got 45 minutes against Spurs in a pre-season, like a behind closed doors under 23 game today. Would you start him? And if so, or what would you line up? Who would you put in goal, and who's your back four?
No, I wouldn't start him yet. I think he needs a bit more game time. I also think it's not necessarily the type of game where we are desperate to have him in the side. I think if you were playing a higher line against a more aggressive forward, we've shown that we need someone like that in the squad. Pablo Mari, for me, very poor against Lukaku, but actually I think where he does excel is where we're a bit deeper and we close up shop a little more. And I think that's how we're going to play against City. I wouldn't go over 4, I'd go over 5. I think as we showed against Chelsea, we got stretched. Their formation just stretched us and we were all over the place defensively. City, as much as they're not going to play a 5 like Chelsea did, they will stretch us. Guardiola always plays his wide men high and wide, stretch the pitch. And then they've got lots of creative players in the middle that will just move the ball around. We haven't really opened up against City much in the last few games, hence why we haven't scored many against them. I think we've only scored maybe one of the last however many games. Most of them tend to be 2-0 against City. I don't expect us to open up. If you open up against City, they will destroy us, let's be honest. We try and go toe-to-toe with them. But at the same point, I don't think they will completely sort of take us apart. I expect it to be a close game because of how we'll approach the game. I think if Ben White's available, I think I'd put him into the team. I think him holding Mari as a 3 and then probably go with Tierney, and then depending on Bellerin, I don't know what's going on with Bellerin at the moment. I think he's...
Would you put Tavares out there?
If Ben White's not available and we move Tierney inside, yes. I'd still like to have Tierney wide when available. I think he's still the first choice fullback, and we know he can defend. I think Tavares, as I said, question marks yet at the moment whether he can defend when he's pushed back, which he will be against City. If Ben White's not available, I'd certainly put Tierney in the 3 and then pay Tavares wide. Don't like the thought of him at right back. I do like natural players in their natural positions, right-footed on the right, left on the left. Although, let's be honest, Cedric is a squad player. Callum Chambers, for me, has done okay. He's been there, but he's not.
Chambers in there first.
He's not good one-on-one defensively. So when you've got someone, let's say they put a Sterling up against him or a Mahrez that switches sides, they'll eat him up all day long for me. So I think if Bellerin is fit, I would play him. I'm sort of hesitating because I think everybody knows what Bellerin's like. We need an improvement in that area, but I think he's still the best of a bad bunch.
Okay. Some people in the chat said don't play Ramsdale, Tony. Bernd Leno is making his 100th Premier League appearance for Arsenal. He's kept 24 clean sheets in his previous 99 games. The 5 other Arsenal keepers to make a century of appearances in all competitions had kept 38 clean sheets by that milestone. Who would you put in goal and then move up to the midfield for me, please?
I'd play Leno tomorrow. I thought Ramsdale had a good game Wednesday. He looked confident, but he's still new into the team. I'd stick with Leno. Look, Leno's got a few faults and flaws. I don't think he's as bad as some people make out. He's certainly not the greatest with his feet, but I would start with Leno still tomorrow. And pretty much what Dan just said, I would have 5 at the back. I would go with very similar to what Dan. I'd have Bellerin or Chambers at sort of right wing back, and then I would play Holding, Tierney in the mid in the 3, and it would be either White or Mari, and I'd actually have Tavares as sort of left wing back purely because I think Tierney actually defensively is quite smart in that 3. Midfield picks itself at the moment. Lokonga and Xhaka, regardless of what people say, they're the best we've got available at the moment. Again, I think we need a little bit of upgrade in that midfield position. And then I would actually have a 3 up top. I'd just go Saka, Aubameyang, Pepe. I wouldn't start with Odegaard or Smith Rowe tomorrow. I just think that with the City and the pressing, they potentially could be lost and picked off quite easily.
Do you put ESR in that lineup as well?
No, I think stick Saka, Aubameyang, Pepe up top, Xhaka and Lokonga in the sort of middle. Have your 5 at the back and have sort of Odegaard, Smith Rowe, etc. to come on, because I think in the first half we know what City can do pressing wise, we know what they can do passing wise. I just don't want them to get lost. Whether it be the right choice or not, I'm not paid to make those decisions. Mine's just an opinion, but based on previous games and the way we've set up against City, I think we need to be as tight and as resolute as possible for as long as possible. Because if they score early, then you might as well shut up.
No, I agree. Dan, I mentioned I'm not a fan of Pepe, but Pepe has scored 5 goals in the Premier League, including in each of his last 3. Would he get a look in for you?
I think he's improved. I think the last 6 months, he's certainly chipping in with more goals as we expect. He looks less afraid to use his right foot, which I think has always been a criticism of him, that he always tries to go onto his left foot. Bit more unpredictable for defenders to defend against. There's no doubt the boy's got talent. I think he is a skillful player who can take a guy on. He just needs to do it more, less hesitant, and sometimes just, commit a defender, which back to the old days, go to the byline, commit a defender. I think there's more to come from him. I think the price tag definitely is weighed heavy on him. I think there's the adaptations to the league. He's obviously not a physical player, but I think with Mikel as his coach, I think he will develop into a very good winger. I think if Mikel has been credited with a lot of the work for Sterling, and Sterling had a lot of flaws and still does, you only got to look at the improvement there. And I think we're seeing a little bit of improvement there with Pepe. The only question mark I always have with him is his work rate. I think I've had that question from day one. His reluctance to track back at times against a side like City.
I'm with Heath in the chat. He says he's too easy to read for defenders. And if you look at St. Maximum, I know he'll have a great game and then have a load of awful games. But you look at his last 2 games, he came up against not Damien, but Declan Rice. He came up against Declan Rice, and he came up against somebody for Leeds, and he has a similar stance to Pepe on that the step overs and trying to shimmy past and create an opening. Defenders, when they look at Pepe, just stand and wait and look at his left foot and wait for the ball to go on his left foot and take it off him. And I just think he's so easy to read. Do you not agree, or do you disagree, Dan?
I think he's started to use his right foot more, which is, I think, why he's starting to improve, because he is a little bit more unpredictable. He still needs to do it more and definitely needs to improve. I think you've only got to look at the West Ham game away last year. I think the cross that came in was with his right foot. If he's willing to do that and work on that side, I think he will improve. And I think it's helped him playing both sides as well. He's not just played as a right winger, he's played on the left. That helps him a little bit because he's more comfortable on his left foot. But then when he comes inside, he has to use his right foot. And if you've got Tierney overlapping and you're a left winger, you are going to cut inside. So I think that's helped him a bit as well. But yeah, I think people are a little bit too harsh on him at times. Let's be honest, he's got a lot of room to improve, and I think he needs to improve. But I don't think he's as bad as people say. A lot of rival fans that I speak to have actually said he's one of the most dangerous players in the squad, because as much as he's not consistent, he's got the talent and the ability to pull it out at times. He just needs to be more consistent.
A defeat against Arsenal for Man City would become the first reigning champion since Blackburn Rovers in 95-96 to lose their opening to lose two of their opening three Premier League fixtures. But they haven't lost two of their opening three league fixtures since 2004-2005. Guardiola has won his last two home games 5-0. Tony, there's some positives, there's some omens, there's some negatives, but could it be as bad as a 5-0?
Yeah, I think quite comfortably. As we allude to time and time again, it all depends which Arsenal turns up.
Yeah,
and it's a guessing game. It's a lottery. If City turn up and sort of turn up and produce what we know they can do, and we turn up half-hearted, lacklustre, not an idea, then it could be embarrassing. But unfortunately for us, over the last few years, we just don't know what Arsenal's going to turn up. We've shocked teams before. I do get the argument now. I think we are more of a cup side, which is why results against the likes of Chelsea, United in recent and City in recent years we've got those results because we set up as a cup team, whereas in the league we don't seem to set up in the same way. Me personally, like I say, I would go 5 at the back tomorrow. I would set up as if it was a cup competition, try and hit them on the break if possible, and just try and nullify. It's hard to nullify City because they've got so many options and so many, ammunition. But we've just got to try and be as resolute and stand up to the task tomorrow. Whether we do that remains to be seen, mate.
Dan, what are you expecting then? Is it going to be as bad as... and listen, I'm not trying to be downbeat, but this is where we are at this very moment in time. We've had a great result on Wednesday night. No. I'm not being negative. I'm trying to be a little bit positive, but I'm also trying to be realistic. We're up against the champions. We're not at that level. I don't think we're even in contention for the top four. Looking at the four that you would expect to be in the top four, challenging for the top six is where we are at the moment. We're on Project Youth. With Arteta or whoever, if anybody comes after him, will still be on Project Youth because that is the route we're going. What are you expecting out of tomorrow then, Dan? And then we'll just briefly look at what we're expecting for the transfer window and wrap up soon.
To be fair, I'm always going to be a little bit more positive. I think as a fan, you're always hoping for something a bit more. We know with this team how inconsistent they are and that they can, on their day, pull out a result. So, hoping for a win. Let's be honest, as we said against City recently, we've not even scored a goal barely. I think we've improved against City. We went for a run where we lost 3-0 every game. We didn't put any commitment into the game at all. The players wasn't there. A lot of it towards the end of Wenger's reign, and then a couple of games. I remember being at home to City when it was snowing, sort of December time, and fans barely turned up. Players definitely didn't turn up.
That was the start of the rot, wasn't it?
Yeah. City are a top side. Let's be honest. That against any top side, at times you can be opened up. So I'm hoping that we don't open up too much. And what I expect is at least a performance from the players, a bit of commitment, closing people down. That's the minimum you expect from your team. Result can go any direction. Expectation is always, everyone's going to say City are the huge favourites. Of course they are, reigning champions, the amount of talent in their side. But is it a good time to play City? They haven't got a striker. Depends if Jesus plays, but without a striker, best player in De Bruyne missing, Foden not there. Maybe it's a good time. Start of the season, not every side is up to speed. If we put in a good performance, you never know. Of course, we're not expecting a win, but you never know. Let's be hopeful.
People in the chat are also agreeing with you, saying that they want a performance. Mem's come along and said he's hoping for a draw. Positive Mel, she is thinking we're going to beat City tomorrow. Well done, Mel. I hope you're right, because it's a bloody long way there and back, 400 and whatever miles. It's going to be round trip. Transfer window wise, Tony, on a wind down of this one. Are you happy with the work we've done? And where do you think we need to strengthen before Tuesday?
I'm actually quite surprisingly happy with the players we've brought in terms of, I like the profile of the players we're signing. There is a couple of question marks. For me, Ramsdale at 24 million, I'm thinking, I'm not so sure he wouldn't necessarily have been my first choice. But, after what I see Wednesday, I'm hoping he's another player that can prove me wrong. I'm going to sit there and back him. I really do. I do like the profile of the players that we're signing. Got no problems with the money, but it's not enough. Let's be realistic. Let's speak facts. Yes, the players we brought in are okay. Tavares again is another one I like. Lokonga I really like. I think he's potentially going to be great, but it's not enough right now. I still think we're crying out. Dan's already alluded to it again earlier on in one of his comments, that we're crying out for a right back. I think a right back is more crucial than another midfielder. I think that the striking options, again, it depends which Aubameyang and Lacazette turn up this season, because it doesn't look like they're going anywhere now. If Aubameyang's attitude and movement and whatever else is the same as Wednesday, then I've got no problem with him staying. But again, it depends which Aubameyang's going to turn up. For me, if we're going to sign one more player this window, I would love it to be a right back, because I just think that will help the way we play, the game plan, the style. Again, is it going to win us the league or get us top four? I don't think so this season, but that's not our aim. I think, like you've already said, that the top four is pretty much sewn up. The likes of us, that lot down the road, Everton, West Ham, Leicester, I think are all vying for 5th place. Is the best you can hope for. So a right back for me is an absolute must. Look, I keep hearing rumours about Calvert-Lewin. I'd love Calvert-Lewin. I think the way we play with Van Dijk, he would be. But let's be realistic. Can anyone see that happening? It already looks like Everton are going to lose Moise Keane and Richarlison. They're not going to lose Calvert-Lewin as well. It's a bit of a pipe dream. It's one that I'd love to happen, but it's not going to happen. If we had to look for a target man,
the only way we get Calvert-Lewin is if either Lacazette or Aubameyang go, and at this moment in time, I don't think it's happening.
I can't see Everton selling him, unless it's a stupid offer, or we could somehow say to Everton, look, there's an Nketiah, there's a Nelson, we'll even give you William for free. But realistically, we're not going to sign him. It's one that I'd love to happen, but it's not going to. The other ones I've looked at, mate, is Icardi. I think Icardi's a top player. For how much game time he's going to get, I don't know. I think he would be a top player for us. And also that Jokovic at Real Madrid, when he was at was it Frankfurt, a couple of years ago, he was quality, and he's the type of player that we need. But yeah, I can't see Aubameyang and Lacazette going, mate, now. I think it's too late in the window. I think that if we was going to sell him, that would have happened a couple of weeks ago, unless an astronomical fee comes in for one of those two. I can't see us selling them. So a right back, and then we move on.
Dan, your view on the transfer window? We've touched on Calvert-Lewin. Mem asked about Bamford, and some of the other names that Tony mentioned. Would you take Bamford?
No, not for me. Different type of striker than what we need. I think he's done well in the Premier League, but he's a mid-table striker. I do think we need a striker and a right back. I think they're the two priorities for us. I don't believe that the club hasn't got a contingency in place were Aubameyang or Lacazette to leave. But yeah, the likelihood of them leaving, it's do we get a decent offer? In which case, yeah, sell them on. But I think I'm relatively happy in a way with the window that I think we've seen a change of strategy from the board, and I think they're running the club more towards the way that a club should be run. I think we're not afraid of spending money on fees as long as we don't overpay for a player. You can argue 50 million for Ben White, but it's a different story. But I think as a club, we're now looking to say we need to keep operating costs lower the wages, but younger players that hold their value or will increase in value. And if we want to sell them, we will regain the fees and be able to reinvest. Or if they don't sign a contract 2 years from the end, say, right, that's it, you're off, sign a contract, or we sell you, reinvest the funds again. And that only happens when you're buying players around 23, 24, as opposed to the likes of a Willian or someone like that. I know we didn't buy Willian, but that sort of player. I don't know, Ronaldo at 36, let's be honest, he's not got a resale value after a couple of years. So from that respect, I think good.
Go on, sorry.
That's right. But yeah, I think also from a squad perspective, we've balanced the squad more. We've got players as backup now. What we haven't done is really improve the first team squad. I think there was a comment that said that. Fully agree. I think that's the next route now. We've got young players coming through from the academy. I think Hallen's been great in what it's produced in the last few years. We have a half decent level squad. Now we need to improve the first team. That will come, in my opinion, the direction they're going is a young squad with a coach rather than a manager. I think that's the whole basis of having Mikel there, is that he's going to coach the young players, bring them through and improve what's there, as opposed to a manager that's going to go out and spend 300 million like Conte and get the, go and win a title in the season. It's a longer term plan. I know everyone says about the process, and it's a bit of a sort of conflicting idea now everyone about, do you trust the process? What's the process? Is there a pattern of play, etc.? There's lots of arguments for Mikel, but
on that one though, we can clearly see from this transfer window what the process is. The process, the project, whatever you want. It is Project Youth. It is bringing in cheaper, younger players. Odegaard is a perfect example of that. He's a really, really, really highly thought of player internationally around the world. He didn't excite me as a signing. I did say that to you guys, only because I thought he was okay last season when he played for us on loan. But I think if we improve him even marginally, we'll get our money back and some.
I'm very happy with him personally.
Yeah,
I think he's a great signing. I mean, compare him to Maddison. You can argue who you think is a better player, but 70 million for Maddison, what has been quoted, I don't know if that's true or not, but is Odegaard 41 million pounds less of a player than Maddison? No, I don't think he is, nowhere near.
No, he's not.
That 41 million can be invested in many, many other areas of the squad. For me, people are underestimating Odegaard. He's very young, has great potential. For me, he's a typical Wenger type signing. What we'd like to see from him is more goals. Absolutely, as a player playing in that position, you need goals. You need to support the squad and chip in. I think he has a good effect on the squad. I think he keeps us ticking over. He keeps the ball moving. He's a creative player, and he sees things that other people don't. People are very 50-50 on Ozil towards the end. I think it's pretty much all in the same direction. But you saw when Ozil came in, the effect he had on the squad. I think Odegaard could be that sort of player, but hopefully maintain it for a longer period of time. And also with less of an ego than most of the superstar number 10s.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Maybe we've got him at the beginning of the crest of his wave rather than with Ozil. We had him towards the end, and as I was a breaker wave more than anything else.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Finally, I'll ask you, Dan, first, since you're the newbie. Your prediction score for the game tomorrow.
We'll go for 1-1.
Okay. Big T.
What do you want, head or heart?
You choose.
One says 4-1 and one says 2-2.
Right. I'll take the 2-2, please.
I'm not sure we'll score 4.
There's a surprise.
My head says probably 3-0 to them. My heart and my hope is it's a 1-0 to the Arsenal, as I said at the start. Mike Feinberg needs a shout out from the Gooner podcast. He's just been absolutely caning us here in the chat all night with all sorts of English colloquialisms for phrases from a Yank. So, hello, Mike. If people haven't done it, Gooners versus Cancer, give some money to it. He does a lot of good work for it. So I got Mel 2-1. I've got Mem 1-1. Gooner Ross 3-1 City. We've got Heath. His head says 2-3. His heart says 1-0. And James finishes it off by saying, cheers, chaps, safe journey. Dan, I hope you enjoyed your first outing on a podcast. This is your first podcast ever, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
For us, I know, yeah. But you've not been on anything else? No, because normally when we get a Dan on the podcast, they go on lots of different podcasts. So, just...
Yeah, no, I've not been on the dark side.
No, that's not meow. That's a piss take kind of Potsy. We love Potsy, you know that. So he's one of us. I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. And hopefully back again soon. T, any final words before we go?
No, Dan, great meeting you and all that, mate. Good conversation. You made some great points today. It's been good having you, Ferg. What can I say, mate? Even I've got names wrong tonight. I don't know. It's obviously you're rubbing off on me or something.
Well, Friday nights generally are not a good night for me to do it. I finished work, went for a couple of pints, and then started on here. So yeah.
Every time I speak to you, that's the same routine. So Monday to Friday must be the same for you.
Groundhog Day, mate. Groundhog Day.
It's a good life, mate.
It's hard being successful, isn't it?
I don't know.
Boys, you have been watching an Arsenal podcast. You have been watching an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Trev's messaged us. Unfortunately, you can't make it tonight. It's too late anyway. Trev, you lost your spot. If you like us,
Trev.
subscribe. 2 point Trev. He's probably on
TPT.
If you like what we do, click subscribe and share it with your friends. Thanks very much. Only one last thing to say. Up the arse.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.